Hi, and welcome to episode number 14 of Ask Ian. My name is Ian Westerman. I'm the head pro at EssentialTennis.com, where it's my mission to bring passionate instruction to passionate tennis players all over the world, just like you. Today we're going to be talking about a question from Luke Blackburn, who wrote to me and said, "Hi Ian, during matches, if something annoys me, like an opponent's mannerisms, such as shouting 'come on' unnecessarily loud or a bad line call, my anger will snowball and become a huge problem, and I will lose focus and my grip on the match. What can I do to prevent or avoid an emotional meltdown during matches?" Well, Luke, that's a great question, and some of what I'm about to say you might not want to hear, or you might not enjoy hearing it, especially the first thing I have to say. When this becomes a problem on the court, and it is for many, many players, so I guess first and foremost, let me say, don't feel badly about it, but it is something that needs to be addressed, because if you don't work on your ability to deal with these types of issues, it will hugely affect your performance on the court. So the first thing I want to say is this is not his problem or her problem. This is your problem. And that's probably going to surprise many of you out there listening to this, because we like to focus on those annoying opponents who make a lot of noise, or they're really enthusiastic, or they cheer for your mistakes, or whatever. The list goes on and on and on and on. We love to kind of hate on those opponents and complain about them and use them as an excuse. I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself. But at the end of the day, it's not them that has the problem, it's you, Luke, because what are you going to do as you go through life? Do you really expect that as you confront people that annoy you or frustrate you, do you really expect that because that's the case, they're actually going to change and do something different? No, of course not. And it's no different on the court. When you play somebody who's annoying, it doesn't matter how angry it makes you, they're just going to continue to be themselves. And sometimes, it's the case where they don't know they're being annoying. Other times they're doing it on purpose. It really doesn't matter. Nothing that you do or say is going to change them. So why have it affect you on an emotional level and decrease your performance when at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do to change them anyway? So I guess that's the first point I would make. Now, allowing it to bother you really does two things. First of all, it takes away your competitive edge. It decreases your level of performance because it clouds your mind emotionally. It takes away your focus on things that actually matter, like strategy and putting together a good game plan, which I guess you could say is basically the same thing. It takes your focus off the things that matter in the match, and instead you start worrying about what it is, all the little things that your opponent is doing that upset you. And so that greatly decreases your ability to play smart tennis. The other thing it does is it gives you a way out. It gives you an excuse. It gives you the ability to say, well, you know what? This is a waste of time. This guy is just doing things to annoy me. Why do I even need to try right now? Forget about it. I'm just going to try to hit every ball as hard as I can. And if I lose, it's his fault, right? We want to place the blame on them when in fact, really it's on us. And this is a defense mechanism because we don't want to take responsibility for our actions and our ability to continue to play well, even though our opponent might be annoying and frustrating. So with those two things having been said, I've got two main pieces of advice for you, Luke. First of all, realize that it's outside of your control, and it truly is, and just let it go. Now, this is much, much easier said than done, and it's something that, quite frankly, takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of experience. But you need to do your best to realize, first of all, I can't control this. I cannot make my opponent act in a certain way. I can't make them respect me. I can't make them treat me nicely and say nice things about me and say, oh, nice shot, and give me the benefit of the doubt on every line call. You can't control any of those things. So you need to realize that and let it go, and instead shift your focus onto the things that you can control. As I said a minute ago, your tactics and your strategy, your shot selections, your intensity level, your focus, your effort. Those are all things that you can control because they're all on your side of the net, and they're things that come from within you. You cannot change what's coming out of them. That's just a fact of the matter. So that's piece of advice number one. And then lastly, I'd just like to simply point out, kind of along the lines of attitude and having a winning mindset, when you think about the world's greatest competitors, and I don't even mean just tennis players, but across all walks of life, athletes, business people, stay-at-home moms that are home with their kids all day, the people that are the most effective actually take these kinds of challenges, whether it be emotional or psychological, and they actually flip them and actually turn it into a strength. Rather than take those annoyances and those frustrations and let it feed your excuses and feed your negative attitude and your negative mindset, instead take those annoyances and let them fuel your motivation to just dominate your opponent. And this is, again, something else that's much easier said than done, but the best players in the world, the best competitors in the world take a less than ideal situation, and they use that as fuel. They use that to stoke their competitive fires, and they use that to become even higher focused, more focused than they were before, than they would be against an opponent who they're really nice people. And again, they treat you with respect. They give you the benefit of the doubt on all the line calls, et cetera, et cetera. Take those actions that would normally be annoyances and say, all right, if you're going to act like that, I'm going to focus even harder. I'm going to come up with an even better game plan and use it as competitive fuel to really drive you into greater focus and more concentration on what actually matters. If instead you allow it to affect you negatively, usually there's this cycle where we just kind of keep sliding further and further down that slope of negative attitude, and almost always our performance goes with it. So instead, make a promise to yourself that you'll do your best. You won't always succeed, but do your best at realizing what's happening. Get off focusing on your opponent. Focus on what you can control instead, and use their annoyances as motivation to really hone in and do the best that you can at defeating them each and every point. So, Luke, hopefully that's helpful to you. Kind of went over a lot of concepts there, but hopefully that gives you some food for thought and gives you the tools to really refocus and think about this in the right way and not allow it to bother you so much. Listen, we're all human. Some opponents are still going to bother you sometimes, and that's just part of it. But hopefully with this new understanding, you can have it affect you in a negative way less and less, and you can become a stronger and stronger opponent as you get more and more experience in match tough. Luke, thank you so much for your question. I appreciate it. If you're watching today and you have a similar question or something completely different having to do with tennis, leave that down below, and I might use it in a future episode of Ask Ian. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and click like and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And finally, any general thoughts or comments, leave those down below this video as well. Until next time, thank you so much for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it very much. And with that, I'll talk to you in the next episode of Ask Ian.